And welcome once again to 7mm Sidings, and today I've been asked by a friend of mine to just go through the stock and talk about the sound chips that are in them and some of the bits and pieces that may be special to particular locos. So that's what we're going to do today. So it's only going to be a short video, but let's have a look at the stock we run on 7mm and Bench Road. Okay, let's start off talking about the pair of 08. So it's 13003, the black, what I call the heritage livery because it's out of period for the layout really, and 08173 in blue. Both have been weathered by myself. Both have got Paul Chetter Zemo sound chips in them, but Paul does more than one variant of the sound chip. In fact, I think he does 3 now, I'm not quite sure, but certainly he did 2 when I bought these. So they've both got very slightly different sound chips recorded off of, I believe, 2 different 08s. Also in the blue one I've got a large round speaker supplied by a friend of mine up in town in North Wales. It fills the whole of the front end and faces out through the grille, and it just gives another little variation on the sound, I suppose. And the black one's got a cube speaker, same idea. It's about an inch and a bit square, cube, sits down in the front of the grille and gives a slight variation on the sound. So the 2 locos, they run the same, they do everything as they should do the same, but there are just a few little things because of the difference in the chip recorded off of different locos and because of the different speaker arrangement. I've got a couple of very slightly different sounds, nauseances or whatever you want to call it, in the running of the 2 together. So that's the 2 08s that we have. Moving on to the class 20s, they're coded up as a pair, so I haven't used consisting. I've given them both the same number, which is 201, and they are set up to run as a pair. So under normal running, the tail lights at this end will be red and the lights at the other end will be white, which means it's going in the direction of the blue loco going first. But you'll notice that between the cabs there are no lights on at all, and that's simply because it's set up by Paul so that the nose lights are operated on a separate function. So I can switch those on, so if I'm running them as individual locos, I've now got a headlight on there with red lights on the back, and therefore it can be run as an individual unit. Unfortunately, the way I've got the chip set up, i.e. they're both on 201, I take one off the layout if I'm running them as a pair. Now when the chips were fitted, David up in Wales in Towyn did the chips for me, and I requested that a motor be removed from each loco because there's too much power really, it doesn't need it. So each locos have one motor removed, and they've both got 00 gauge chips in them, so saving about £50 per loco on the chips. And as you've seen in previous videos excuse me, as you've seen in previous videos, they run absolutely fine, both singularly and as a joint pair. So no problem at all with taking a motor out of each one, and you've still got 2 motors in the 2 units, and you've still got all the functions that you need. Likewise with the horns are set up to only work in the forward direction. So for example, at the moment it's coming this way, so the horn there is there and there. If I change direction, the horn at the other end is now working. So using the same 2 horn functions, i.e. 3 and 4 on the control panel, I've got 4 different horn sounds, purely down to the direction the locos are running in. So that's a great help. So overall, 2 20s, 2 motors, 2 00 chips, and set up to run as individual units or as a matching pair. The only problem is when they're running as individuals and going nose first, there is no horn sound, because the horn sound doesn't seem to work in that direction. But other than that, cracking pair of locos. A couple of things I forgot to say on the 20 is that this one, for some reason, has no cabside number, but I have found the number in the box, so that's going to be numbered up shortly. I didn't even realise it when I weathered the thing, but it does have the number on the other side, so that's okay. But the rail freight one, unfortunately, the number started to lift when I weathered it, so again new numbers are coming for that for both sides. So they will be done. So we move on now to the wraps. I've got 25.0 at this end, which is 25.054, and 25.285 at the other end, which is the 25.3. Again, at the time I was still fairly new to O gauge, so not doing any sound fitting, and David McGill, David Gintyman on the RM Web up in Wales, fitted the sound for me. Again, my choice, take a motor out of each one because it doesn't really need it, and fit a 00 chip. So again, saving £100 or so on the pair, saving 50 quid a motor, and they run absolutely beautifully, as you've seen on the videos. No problem whatsoever on a small layout like this, and they're not really hauling long trains. Mainly a lot of 3 and 4 wagon stuff is the most that I can accommodate, so they do the job admirably. The one at this end, I did the weathering on this one, and I've got to say I'm quite pleased with that. That's come out rather nicely, and it's okay. And then David did the one at there, the 25.3, and again a lovely job. So that's my pair of 25s. Again, 1 motor in each, and 00 gauge chips. Moving on up, we have a pair of 33s. Now both as they've come from the factory more or less. The weathered one is 33012 and the Network Southeast 33035. Both have the full Paul Chetter Zemo sound chips, so both of them have got the 2 motors in. I haven't removed the motors on these purely because the circuit board, the big one, was easier to do on these than the smaller 00 chip. That's what I found anyway. I did have a look at putting a 00 chip in and removing a motor. In the end I changed my mind. Crew's been added to both of them. I put 1 crew in each end on all my stock. I don't know if you noticed it on the others or not, but again, so they're running in either direction. At least they've got a driver at one end and a lazy man sitting at the back end having a cab ride. So yeah, they're as per the factory as far as weathering is concerned. And then Helgen Zemo, the big chip in each one with a nice big fat double boombox speaker in the belly tanks. There's not a lot else you can say on these. The Network Southeast I do like, but I'm afraid it's a little bit too new for the layout, so I might be looking to do a respray, a body swap, or even sell the loco. I am trying to sell it at the moment, but we'll see what happens on that. And in the meantime, 1 pair of nice Helgen 33s. Class 37. I do like my tractors, I have to admit. So I've actually got 4. There's 3 here. Now the first 2, large logo. One's got the Highland Stag, which is 37183, and the other one there is 37081 Loch Long. Loch Long is due for the weathering shop, as are the ploughs on 183, because I've fitted those just recently. And then finally down here we have 37206. Bought this one second hand. The paperwork inside says it's weathered and sound chipped by Tara Models. I think the sound chip might be a Southwest Digital or a ESU chip, because the functions aren't the same as on the Zemo, but it has got a lovely sound. The roof fan works. The weathering is very, very good, I have to say. It does need crew in this one, which I've got ready to put in. It's another little project that I've got to get around to doing. It's another round to it project. Yeah, I will get around to it eventually. But again, these 237s, the large logo ones, have both had a motor removed, so we're sporting the 00 gauge chip. So again, saving about 50 quid per loco, £100 saving there, and it almost buys a third chip really in 00. So once again, you've seen them running on the layout, no problems whatsoever, and absolutely fine on the small layout. I am looking forward to the warmer weather coming, and I can get the airbrush out and tone that one down a little bit and do some more work on them. So we've got 37183, 37081, both with 00 chips, and I think this one must have a full-size chip, but as I say, I think it's an ESU chip, but it sounds absolutely lovely. So that's 3 of the 4. And the 4th one is a work in progress. I'm waiting for the speaker to come and the numbers and the arrows to go on, and then it will be fitted. I've got the chip ready for it, and that's the full-size chip again. I've decided to go for the full chip in that with the screw terminals, so that will go in there. I'm having twin speakers, which again David up in town in Wales is doing for me. He's supplying the speakers, and we're going to wire those. I think they're in parallel, I believe, but they'll go into the belly tank, and they'll give it a nice deep growl, and then that's another one to go in the weathering shop. Another job to look forward to for the summer. And moving on to the 47199. Came to me second hand, and again David did the sound fitting for me on that one, and again it's the 00 chip. I'd taken a 0047 chip out of a Helgen 47. It was an ESU chip, and so I've had that inserted, again taken one motor out, and the chip's gone in there, and again, as you've seen and heard on the videos, absolutely no problem at all. So class 47 00 chip, and I did the weathering on that. Originally you couldn't see the numbers or anything. I really had made it a very dirty loco, but since then I've given it a wipe over and a wipe down. It's now suitably grubby, but clean grubby, I suppose. So that's the 47. And last but not least, we have the 56. Bought this one second hand at a show. It looks like a PMRP kit. It was about 18 months to 2 years ago I bought this now. It was already sound fitted, no paperwork, and the lights were working in the wrong direction. I managed to sort all that out. I believe the chip is probably an ESU chip because of the way the functions work, and it's probably an earlier one because it hasn't got cold start and that sort of thing. But it certainly runs quite well. It's a bit of an old growler because it's got the Delrin chain drive, and to be fair, I mean, I've seen kits put together a little bit better. I've seen an awful lot worse, and the same with the paint job really. When you're up close and personal with it, you can see there's quite a few bits that are not as good as maybe some people could do. but it came at the right price, and for a same fitted class 56 when there was none on the market, I was very pleased with the purchase. So and still am. So it's another nice one in the fleet. So that's the last one, and that's it. Class 56 in rail freight grey. So finally the wagons, we've got a VDA, I keep calling it a VAA, but it's actually a VDA in early brown. I've then got a VAA in rail freight brown, and a rail freight red grey, VAA. On the open wagons, there's a brown OAA, a rail freight OAA ABS, and an ordinary red and grey OAA, and finally a ZDA squid in Dutch livery. And then 3 catfish. With the catfish, they've got removable loads, and I painted the plastic load in PVA, dumped it in the pot of 00 gauge ballast. So I've now got removable loads. Inside the load there's a piece of metal, just hot glue gunned in, so that my magnet can usually lift them out without a problem. And then when they're fitted in the wagon, that's what they look like. So you've got a wagon load with proper looking ballast on there. I've then got the wall well, which is absolutely lovely wagon, a real beautiful kit, not a kit, ready to run wagon, very heavy, and room for more weight in the belly underneath as well. So that is a superb model. And then finally there I've got the SO tanker, and that's the only oil tank I've got. So that's the wagon fleet. I've got a VEA, I think it is, the rail freight short van, a Slater's one in rail freight red grey on order for a build. That's on its way to me, and I might look at getting a turbot or two as well, because I think that might be a good addition to the fleet. You'll notice in the OAAs they've got like a dummy floor in them. Basically it's a piece of cardboard, and in there there's sleepers, bits of rubbish, bits of grass, etc. Because I'm too lazy to go and get my magnet. Again, magnet underneath, bit of cardboard, false floor, and just fills up the wagon and stops it looking for too empty, I suppose. And then there we go, and that's the loco fleet all parked up, ready for service. So if ever I decide to run this as a depot yard, nice little bit of Nottingley or somewhere there, or Bristol or wherever, yeah, that's the loco fleet. So I hope you like what you see, and we'll do some more running next. Well, there we go. Hope you enjoyed that. Just a little insight into what I've got. As I say, it's not a great deal of stock. When I was doing 00 and I had the last big roundy layout, the wagon fleet, the 16-ton minerals, I had about 30, and nearly, I suppose, 70 or 80 goods wagons, something in the region of about 15 to 20 passenger coaches, almost 50 locos, steam and diesel, that were same fitted. So yeah, less is more, I guess, now with O gauge, but at least I've got something and I can have a good run. So thanks again for watching. We'll be back to proper running again on the next one, I can assure you. Thanks again now. Bye.